Big things are happening with the Judgment Day, so we're going to see what's happening there. We're also going to check out what AJ Styles is saying, what's up with the Vision, and more. Starting things off with the Judgment Day and the big, great news that just hit their group. You know, it's been a rough few months for the Judgment Day characters. Liv has been preparing for her Summerslam match, and she's facing some challenges there along the way. You also got Dominic and JD, who have been battling things out with Danhausen over their stolen money. And then Roxanne Perez is currently still on a massive losing streak on Monday Night Raw and just can't get a win at all. And Raquel has been trying to win the women's intercontinental title as well as of late. So just a lot of struggling for everybody inside of the Judgment Day lately. But that trend came to an end on the July 27th edition of Monday Night Raw. This episode of Raw featured a women's intercontinental title match between the champion, Sol Ruca, and the challenger, Raquel Rodriguez. It was Raquel's second crack at facing Sol Ruca for the title, and Raquel was able to pull it off and win the title. But not without some vintage Judgment Day controversy, of course. Sol Ruca appeared to be closing in on retaining the title until Liv Morgan and Roxanne caused a lot of outside interference, and it got to the point where it was just too much for Sol Ruca to overcome, and that led to Raquel picking up the win and becoming the new women's intercontinental champion. This ends Sol Ruca's title reign at just under 60 days. And for the most part, it was a very uneventful title reign. And that's, of course, not Sol's fault. But in terms of the booking, it just felt a bit flat, and her reign never really had any life to it because of it. So now, the women's intercontinental title goes around Raquel's waist for the very first time. It is an absolutely massive accomplishment for her. It's the first time that she's held singles championship gold since her days as the NXT Women's Champion. So everyone's really happy to see Raquel win that title. Everyone believes it's very well deserved, long overdue for her to win singles gold again. So great to see that. And not only is it a great singles accomplishment for Raquel, but also her Intercontinental title win should definitely shake things up for the Judgment Day's story and potentially have a big impact there. Liv Morgan has the world title. Raquel now has the Intercontinental title. The Judgment Day is covered in gold and feeling like they're getting back to running the whole show again. And that's all true, but the storyline situation could have a very different point of view if you're looking at it from Roxanne's point of view. You know, if you're Roxanne, you're looking around and you're seeing all of this great success happening to everybody around you, and you yourself are playing a big role in everyone's success, right? You know, Roxanne played a key role in Liv's world title win at WrestleMania 42. She played a role here with Raquel's Intercontinental title win. But when it comes to Roxanne's matches and opportunities, there really isn't anyone helping her out there and looking out for her. Roxanne hasn't won a match at all on Raw since around springtime. So it's got to be making her feel some type of way where she's going out of her way every single time to help her fellow Judgment Day members win championship gold. But then when it comes to them needing to help her win, never goes according to plan, right? Maybe Roxanne has noticed that, or maybe her character hasn't even noticed it, but that's absolutely what's been happening here, right? Roxanne is the reason that Liv Morgan has a title right now, and she's also the reason why Raquel now has a title. Roxanne's sacrifices have brought championship gold to both Liv and Raquel, but it's also resulted in her having absolutely nothing to show for it herself. So that's got to be something that eventually is going to crawl into Roxanne's mind as well. She looks over at the waists of Liv and Raquel, and she sees championship gold on both sides. But then she looks at her own waist, and she's got absolutely no gold, and it's just on a massive ongoing losing streak. So eventually, at some point, Roxanne has to become aware that she's getting the short end of the stick here. Maybe she doesn't realize it right now. You know, maybe she is a true team player and she's been blinded by all of the success that's happening in the group overall. The day is going to come when she starts to realize that the group hasn't really been looking out for her that well. And once Roxanne realizes that fact, maybe she does go after either the Intercontinental title or the Women's World title, both titles that are right now inside of the Judgment Day. You know, the other potential route here that could be a possibility is maybe Liv Morgan getting a little bit jealous of Raquel if Liv drops her world title herself in the near future. If Liv drops the world title, how exactly is she going to feel about Raquel now being the only women's champion within the Judgment Day? Will Liv be accepting of that fact? Or is that going to cause tensions to rise there between Liv and Raquel? So Definitely a lot to watch out for right there. Raquel's title win definitely seems like it's a great moment for the Judgment Day at this current moment in time, but that title win, it could also bring a handful of issues to the group down the line. So again, we'll just have to wait on it. The Vision appeared to close the book on one of their big rivalries in recent weeks, and that, of course, is with the Alpha Academy. Ever since Maxine left her old friends to link up with the Vision, the Alpha Academy has been a big thorn in the Vision's side in recent weeks. Both teams met on Raw this week in a match that saw the Vision come out on top and beat the Alpha Academy. Not only did they win, but the post-match moment included a very brutal beatdown of Otis that really seemed like it was meant to write Otis off of television for an extended amount of time. So, Otis may be gone for a little while after that attack, meaning that possibly could have been the end of this feud, and potentially even the end of the Alpha Academy overall as well. The Vision may be getting ready to move on to their next chapter. None of the members of the Vision were booked for this year's SummerSlam, which really is surprising, especially in the case of Bron Breakker, but, well, they're still the tag team champions, and they've been looking very strong every week since Maxine joined the group, so, well, they'll be looking to keep that momentum going. Oh, and speaking of the Vision, AJ Styles made headlines this week for some comments that he had to say about Bron Breakker. AJ Styles said that he was in disbelief that Bron Breakker still has not become a world champion. AJ Styles feels like that's something that should have happened at this point, and he's just absolutely stunned that it hasn't. He noted that the rocket should have already been placed on Bron's back, and he just doesn't understand why all of that hasn't happened yet. Now, on Season 3 of WWE Unreal, there was a moment when Bron Breakker was pitched to win the 2026 Men's Royal Rumble match, but Triple H turned down the idea because he felt like the fans would reject it and feel like Bron's being shoved down their throats. However, they sure seem to have no issue shoving other people down the fans' throats, right? So, a lot of fans are really confused by that Bron Breakker explanation on Unreal. And AJ Styles, he's right. This has been something that the entire community has been talking about as of late. Bron walked into 2026 looking like a certified star, the next world champion. But now here we are approaching the final quarter of 2026, and he's a tag team wrestler, and he's someone who's lost control of his group to Austin Theory. So AJ Styles is correct about things being a little bit off for Bron Breakker, and we're just going to have to see if he is still destined to become a world champion one day. We'll see. But anyway, what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.